Hey, that was good. I liked your the position on extra activities like for piano or anything like that. Is no one's having fun. Um,
Why are we doing
but
this?
that's like the first question to ask. But then I like how you kind of follow it up. Like, is it important though?
Mm-hmm.
Because that can make a difference too. And you made a good point on that. Like, there was a church function I took my kids to the other day, and they were less than thrilled to be at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I asked them afterwards, and it's so funny that you brought that up. And I was like, "Did you guys enjoy that?" "Oh, no, we did not enjoy this at all." I was like, "Oh, but was it important?" And they all said, "Well, yeah, very important." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's at least you understand that."
Yes.
But I think that, like you said, it applies to extra activities like piano or dance. Or if you're not having fun and it's not important, let's let it go and maybe find something else.
Yeah. Well, if it's not important to me or us, like that might be very important to another family, but sometimes you just realize, I don't think I actually care about this. And I thought I would or should care about this for my kids, and I don't. And it's okay to let it go.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Rachel, I'm curious, where you work so much with women and moms, is there a common thing that you found that comes up that is pretty consistent across the board that they struggle with? And how do you help them address it?
Yeah. I think a lot of women struggle with, they want to know their life's purpose. They want to know their purpose and they want it articulated. And that can be a really difficult thing to sort of pin down. And so one of the exercises that I encourage women to do to find their purpose is to look back over the course of their life. This is an exercise I originally learned about from the author Donald Miller. And he says to,
Oh, I love Donald
do you love
Miller.
Donald Miller? Yeah. I love him too. I loved his books. Now he's sort of a marketing guy, and I love all of his marketing business stuff. But before that, he wrote memoirs, and I loved his memoirs.
Yes.
Anyway,
Blue Like Jazz. And all
yes, my one of my all-time favorite books is a million miles in 1,000 years by Donald Miller. So if you haven't read that one, I highly recommend. But he talks about looking back at your life turns, which is basically the moments, big or small, in your life where you were never quite the same after. And like, those can be really little things, but basically like looking back and thinking through, what do I remember from elementary school and middle school? And like there was that teacher that I had that interaction with, or that club that I got to be a part of. Like, what are the standout things in my life, highs and lows? And then you sort of try to find a theme and of just like a one word, like a verb. So I help women sort of isolate that. So like, it's like women might discover that they've always really felt called to nurturing, or they've always really felt called to learning, or whatever. I've had some really unique women come up with some really unique things that they recognize a pattern in their life. And then that's, I say that's your life's purpose, and you can live it out so many different ways. Your life's purpose has always been with you, and it can be with you in every season. It's not like a role as much as just sort of like a theme for your life. And so that's been cool to see women sort of get some light bulbs. My sister realized recently that she thinks her life purpose is spoiling, because she's always loved to like give gifts and make people feel really spoiled and special. And that's just such a unique life's purpose that she can use in so many different ways and places. So, yeah.
I love that. Very creative, right? To think about it that way.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. Really, really good. All right. Any other more questions?
Any other questions?
I have one more, if it's okay.
Please.
Yeah.
I've heard it said, like, I'm just so curious as you work with many women, like what you see kind of across the board. But I've heard it said before that when women are struggling with feeling guilty about how they are as a mom, I've heard some people say, well, your kids are sent to you because you're the mom that they need, and, to gain your strengths and your weaknesses too. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think about maybe our weaknesses are just what our kids can learn from? I don't know. What do you think about that thought?
I think it's an empowering thought, and whether or not it's true doesn't really matter, because it's a much better thought than like, I'm not cut out for this. You know, when you can say instead, like, my kids were sent to me for a reason. I'm the mom that my kids need. Who cares if that's quote true or not? Like, it's just way more helpful, you know? So, and I definitely think our kids are blessed by our weaknesses, but also our kids are so blessed by our strengths that our weaknesses kind of almost don't even matter. Like I, as I mentioned in the episode, I am not a good housekeeper. I am not a good cook. We don't have a lot of great routines in our home. Sometimes I feel bad about that. And I do know that I have a son with ADHD. I know he would for sure be blessed by a mom that was more structured and consistent. But also I am an incredibly like loving, connective mom that he is so like, we are so connected, and I read to him every night, even though he's almost 13, and I snuggle with him and I talk to him about life. And so, yeah, are my weaknesses harming him? Maybe a little bit, but my strengths are blessing him so much that it kind of doesn't even matter. And so I just like try to be really accepting of who I am and to stop saying like, I'm not enough, and just sort of pour into the things that I'm good at. And I hope I can do the same for my kids, and like really see what their gifts are instead of always focusing on the ways that they could be better or falling short.
I love it. That is brilliant.
Being the parent of an ADHD child is challenging.
Oh.
I share that battle, Rachel.
Yes, so. I know it's a wild journey, but there's so many strengths there too. My son is outrageously creative. So he's so scattered, but so creative and fun and deep and connected. And so I just try to focus on that.
Yeah, my daughter's the same way. Scattered, but really creative, very really good at creating stories, and then really good at music. And I am like envious of how well and easily she picks up music.
Yeah.
It's definitely challenging. And every day I have to, I have to learn grace.
Yeah.
A lot.
For yourself and them.
Yes, very much.
I salute you, Rachel, Sarah, as mothers and all women. I don't think there's a more important role.
No.
And I love that we've talked about today just the many ways of mothering. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. Rachel, so good. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I always feel a little like when your assistant reached out and invited me, I was like, why would 2 PhDs want to talk to me? You know, you're highly educated, and it's an honor to think that I have anything to offer. So thank you for.
I think experience, you don't need a PhD in family study. I think motherhood is worth more than any PhD.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And your honesty, how real you are. Oh, yeah.
Well, and I mean, my life's purpose that I've identified is to teach. And I was a high school English teacher before, as I mentioned. And so even though I don't necessarily know it all, I feel like I can read the research and distill it well because I'm a teacher. And so that's kind of why I lean into in my podcast. I'm not the expert, but I bring on the experts, and then I can sort of make it understandable for the average person.
That's a gift.
That is a gift. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission.